I don't think literally a single one of you watching this will hit the numbers I'm about to describe, nor should you have that expectation, okay? US Bureau of Labor Statistics says 0.1% of businesses will ever hit $1 million a month. I absolutely love call funnels. There's no better funnel that can scale aggressively compared to a call funnel. More people will fail with call funnels than people who will succeed in most instances at high levels of scale. It's called a trust recession. There's just so much like trust fatigue, you know? Where they've given trust out and they've gotten fucked and burned, and internet marketing has sped up the amount of interaction that any given market can have and has like rapidly ascended customers up this sophistication ladder. So these guys are in the inner circle. They're at $500,000 earlier this year. And by the way, I'm not implying that you'll join the inner circle and produce this level of result, okay? Absolutely fucking not.
But what do you think?
Because whoever's right is, you know what I mean?
All right, Jeremy, from my perspective, it was a crazy year for you. You published like 100 SOPs in the inner circle.
It's 37 SOPs, okay?
Like in total or this year?
No, like total. Like we only have 37 SOPs. Some of those take an extremely long period of time, like the Mastering Webinars one or the Challenge Funnel SOP one. Those ones are, I don't know, 70 to 140 pages each, you know, and those ones each took a month to upwards of 2 months. Yeah. There are some SOPs that are just, you know, they're SOPs, bro. They're super easy to write.
Yeah, but you pretty much wrote like almost a book about webinars and challenge funnels this year.
Yeah.
Well, what happened there? Because the previous year that
you guys as a group started paying me a lot more money, you know, so I took it a lot more serious. It's a classic example of I spend my time taking the highest revenue-driven actions, you know. I don't try to put my attention on things that don't make me as much. So as an education company, I've progressed a lot financially and made a lot more. And as a result of that, I've had a need to systematize a lot, you know, and keep in mind, all an education company is in this context is 2 offers. It's the Master Internet Marketing offer and the Jeremy's Inner Circle offer. Those 2 offers, they share a lot of the same problems, just at different levels. Like Master Internet Marketing is just teaching people how digital marketing works in general, you know, good lessons, but to be clear, in general. Whereas when you look at the Inner Circle, those people are all rich people trying to get a fuckload richer. Those people have a different set of problems, but again, they're just at further progressions in the game. And if you have a lot of different people that have similar patterns or problems at a given time, it becomes far easier to identify like what specifically I need to make a system for or a process for, or in this case, an SOP for. We'll build our training both proactively for what we know people need to know, but in addition to that, we'll build things around what you guys are actively dealing with as problems. So keep in mind, like I just simply put, gotten paid a lot more in the education company, and that's demanded me to take aggressive action on things much greater than just the SOPs, by the way. Like, have you logged into the training library recently?
No.
Thing's a fucking monster. It's like we have the weekly group call library for the Inner Circle members, the mastermind talks, like we do these 4 times a year. We have, dude, just in the context of this one, you see all the trophies? It's like we're giving away 2 $5 million a month trophies and 3 $1 million a month trophies. And those people all give a talk on what they're doing to have gotten those results. And we put those in the mastermind bowl. We have, in addition to just those things, you guys have some specific issue, like let's take Andromeda as a recent one, or like CPM's fucking people, depending on how they viewed their problem. Dude, think about it. I immediately made like emergency training for it, SOPs on it, contextualized like many different examples across client deals, like made the ads available to you, taught like Manus AI agent mode, like teaching guys like prompts and all the training material we use to overcome those issues. Again, like we're paid to stay cutting edge in these instances and like do whatever it takes to help you guys get richer. And we take that really seriously. So you're not experiencing like a fuckload of AI slop as an example, if that's what you're alluding to. I write those things. I will be fair in saying AI did about 10% of it. But I sit down and I literally write those. I usually do them on flights or over at the Jungle House down there in Coral Gables, you know? So that's my peace palace.
No, it's obvious. It's obvious that it's not AI. And I guess like you literally like quadrupled or like your Inner Circle, right?
I'm not sure of the exact number, like year over year. I just know it's a lot more people
but last
than
year
what's
it went
historically
like
been in
crazy.
there. Yeah, again, I'm not sure the exact quantity of people, but I mean, as an offer, just keep in mind, like there's 2 things. That offer's existed since 2019, but there's really 2 things that have helped it grow. Number 1 being YouTube, and then 2 just being word of mouth, because we take the product very seriously. So if you're more like product led than sales and marketing oriented in this instance, we have a great product and we fulfill the outcome of that product, which is again helping people flip that spectrum of the "you're fucking me" spectrum in their favor quickly and keeping it that way, you know? We have something special. It's talked about at a high rate that plays into arguably more than what YouTube will produce, to be fair. But again, YouTube's helped it a lot. And you also have to keep in mind my messaging historically has been geared towards a much smaller entry-level person because I never made content towards my ideal client. I never thought that I could get people who are focused on $1 million months or a couple $1,000,000 a month off content. I had a limiting belief in that regard, and I don't want to be right. I just want to make money. I tested against that thesis in July of 2024, committed to twice a week YouTube videos centric around the $1 million a month topics. And to my surprise, I had a tremendous response with people that, you know, needed that content. Also, clearly were looking for some community that makes you feel like you're not isolated or lonely, and that there's a bunch of other people who have not only experienced the same problems or are currently experiencing it, have solved it, can provide that advice. The moral of the story is, I think that it's also just a stroke of luck to a degree of having something that was positioned. It's like if you built Noah's Ark and then it flooded, you know, it looked like oh wow, dude, you're a really smart guy, but like Noah wasn't that smart at all for a long time technically. Because people thought he was crazy because they were like, dude, it's not raining. Like, why are you building an ark? This has been an offer for like 6 years. So I think that something changed. I think that something changed in the market. These higher level people not only resonate with the messaging, I think it's also important to note they resonate with the current situation and how to resolve that situation. The situation being agency owners have fucked them. In-house staff, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They clearly need to lead these people they hire, whether they're agencies or in-house staff. And these high-level people have recognized, I need to understand this shit. And then I put myself out there in a very like, this is who I am kind of way, so you can see whether you vibe with me as a person. You know, I bring a lot of accountability. I bring a tremendous amount of certainty that you otherwise lack as an organization. I'm paid well to be on the cutting edge. And you're also, in most instances, seeing when you watch content from me, a unique thought. You know, and I don't come off as a copycat personal brand because I'm not. I have authentic, genuine, like real life experience at scale that I can boil down into simple takes on how to help you get richer. And so if you couple that with, like I said, this like stroke of luck of the Noah's Ark analogy, I already had this boat, you know, I just never talked about it publicly. I didn't think, again, because my limiting belief that would resonate with anybody. And then really more than anything else, the positioning of people as aligned to like a perfect set of circumstances for you to see the rapid growth. And you've been a long-term member. So you've been around, you also have comparison bias here. Like this could otherwise just be the normal rate of growth that this thing should have been experiencing if I just would have talked about it.
Yeah.
Right. But I never talked about it. It was always historically an upsell for our existing education students who wanted a higher level group.
Yeah.
You know, so everything about it really changed. So moral of the story, you're just kind of seeing me take my education company a little more seriously than I historically have. And again, having the incentive to really do so. So it's been an honor to be able to help you. And I'm sure you've seen a tremendous improvement in our delivery and like what we can offer and the value of the group as well and who's a part of it. So yeah. You benefit obviously from all that too. I appreciate you pointing that out.
I can't complain. And what's funny, it's also generating hope because there's a lot of people out there. It's like, hey, the info space is, you know, not expanding anymore. But then I look at your mastermind, I see all these people joining, dog trainers, like
wait, a guy that sells golf carts the other day, John.
Yeah, it's like there's like so many people in there, and like and you see it on your YouTube videos. Those people want to, you know, do $1 million months, and they're watching your videos. They're in them. For me, it seems like the market is getting actually better. Well, but I'm curious what you think about
Here's
that.
what I want to make really clear, right? There's a lot of videos on my channel where I actually have a pinned playlist on my like homepage on propaganda content, and at any given time, like you've clearly been swayed by some level of content and maybe conversations and what I call handy-down data. I highly doubt that you originated that conclusion yourself and just said, this is currently what's happening based on observation of some data. It's likely a bunch of independent articles, tweets, threads somewhere, conversations with random people, passive things that have hit you that you ultimately want to make sense of. That's what a conclusion is. I don't in any way, shape, or form believe or subscribe to what you're talking about in that regard. That's why I'm able to say you've likely been influenced by some level of content and AKA propaganda. In my world, I have always viewed there's just a substantial difference between a course and an education company. We don't sell courses. We have an education company. Education companies are, again, a company. Comparatively, it's just some fucking side piece cash grab, okay? I don't virtue signal about the fact that I absolutely fucking love money, okay? Money is, like, you can look around in my entire environment at all times and clearly tell that I absolutely love money, okay? And that's no in any way, shape, or form shied away virtue signaled thing around here, okay? But at the same time, we deeply give a fuck, and everybody that pays us can recognize that immediately. Even people who don't pay us, they can tell that we have an authentic drive to actually help people with the number one outcome they want, getting richer, okay? Having somebody out there that just transparently says, look, my job is to help turn money into more money, right? And I do it with the bet of digital marketing, whether it's paid, organic, and I specifically hone that in towards rich people trying to get richer, okay? And when you couple all that together with somebody who's actually been doing this shit for more than a decade, and I have so many lessons that we can hand down, and we also have so much real-time experience we continue to accumulate. I simply put, would always encourage that when you're looking for education, you buy it from an education company. You can tell a difference between an author that manufactures their books for profit, like building a surface level series, versus there's some authors, fiction or nonfiction, where you read that shit and you're like, my God, that was for the love of the game. Have you ever, I'll give you a perfect example. Great fiction show, The Game of Thrones. Have you ever seen The Game of Thrones?
Yes.
You remember that crazy fucking battle towards the tail end of the show? It was one of the best battle scenes. I think it won, if I'm not exaggerating, like 4 to 5 significant awards from how good of a battle it was. And I remember in real time watching that shit, my jaw dropped. I was so impressed with what they created. And you could tell in those moments, like, that wasn't for anything other than the love of the game, to like truly put something out that was taken seriously with what the outcome of, in this case, watching a show is. Pure entertainment, but also like to give you that additional shock value of like, holy shit, this is amazing. It's like, moral of the story is, when you watch a course or you read a book or you go to some event and it's just fucking whack, dude. Like, it's just whack, ran by a bunch of donkeys who clearly don't give a fuck about you at all, who are just doing it because they think this is how you generate cash. It's like, dude, those people always fucking die, you know? Comparatively, when you have an education company and you have a leader that genuinely gives a fuck about your outcomes you want to produce and gives you that true set of actions you need to take next to make a fuckload more money, that ultimately, when somebody's just consistent on outcomes, think about how much I reinvest into y'all, right? It's not like I just give you something that's stale. I constantly invest into you guys, right? And again, I love your money, but I reinvest it back into you too. Not all of it, of course. Never all of it. But more than enough to keep you in a position where you can perpetually get more and more results and learn more and more. And we up the quality of everything we do more and more. That's an education company. And that's what we do. That's a big difference that we pride ourselves on. So as a result of that, when you couple it with your original thesis that this niche is dying, no, just per usual, it's a cyclic process. A bunch of fucking idiots that just do courses come into the game, that run their businesses, right? If they're even a fucking business, like a complete dumbass. They drive it into the ground. They make a catastrophic failure. People absolutely love drama and those types of stories. And they're great learning lessons, even for like stable people who don't crave drama. Either way, moral of the story is that period of time goes away. There's no more catastrophic shit, and those people become re-inspired again, but they're new people now, and they do it all over again. So moral of the story is that entire duration of time, through like many of those same cycles, an education company can persist and thrive. So the money doesn't disappear. Education as an industry is always going to be something that people seek. Yes, there's periods of times like any other industry or niche where there's substantially more money flowing in and out of it, and there's periods of times where it's a lot less. Like any niche, any industry, no matter what it is, they have those ebbs and flows. Point being, there's in all times of history, mentors, educators, knowledge has to be passed down because we're all in clear understanding that the right data leads to a substantially better result, a faster result. You're just buying speed in most instances when you educate yourself. That's all it is. Moral of the story, I I don't disagree with the fact that maybe we're in a cycle of time where you're seeing a fuckload of people crash, right? But again, it's like that doesn't conclude to the fact that there's less money being spent. It just means the people who might have had a lot of attention that are unfortunately like one of those people that just sells a course, catastrophically failing and creating a lot of like lessons for other people to learn from. And I think that's really healthy. I think it's a really good thing, not a bad thing. Think of what those people who would buy from those types of people learn. You know, when what do people do when they very first want to get into entrepreneurship, but they come from nothing and they know nothing? What's one of the first things that they try as a business model?
Well, drop shipping,
Potentially.
multi-level marketing.
I was going to say multi-level marketing. MLMs are one of the number one things that like entry-level people who want to become like their own boss, you know, try to take advantage of.
Yeah.
Why? It's like, well, there's a lack of know-how. But think about what that lesson does. That lesson becomes a catalyst, right? It's a learning event that makes you transcend into a more serious person that has a higher probability to actually get the results. Sometimes you got to get a little fucked on.
You need to get scammed.
Yeah, exactly. You got to get scammed here and there to have that unfortunate conclusion of like, I've got to wise up. You know, I've got to reposition how I'm operating here. You know, get a little more serious. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 And then even let's say if the industry is shrinking, you still are doing some pretty crazy numbers. So.
No, I mean, we do great. We've always done great, and we'll always continue to do great because, again, we're focused on the outcomes that we can help people produce, and we're great at those outcomes.
Yeah.
So we look forward to continuing to help people get rich.
So if we talk about that, like, I'm curious this year what you have seen in terms of like VSL, book a call funnel, direct VSL. Like, what are what's the top that you have seen this year?
Dude, one of those trophies, let me also just disclose, okay? I don't think literally a single one of you watching this will hit the numbers I'm about to describe, nor should you have that expectation, okay? Just to be clear, U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics says 0.1% of businesses will ever hit $1 million a month, okay? Let alone the even way smaller quantity of people. Excuse me, it's 0.1% who hit 10 mil a year, the even smaller quantity that hit $1 million a month. If you looked at this next result that I talked about, I don't even know what the probability would be. There's probably a fuckload of 0.000000001s before you'd ever have the chance to do this, okay? So these guys, they're in the inner circle. They're at $500,000 earlier this year. And by the way, I'm not implying that you'll join the inner circle and produce this level of result, okay? Absolutely fucking not. So anyway, these guys were at $500,000 a month for a long time. They've been stuck there for about 2-3 years. They had an offer teaching agency owners how to scale up to that point with a rev share model, essentially. They named it something fancy. And they pivoted their offer in January of this year to sell people on how to start an AI business, which is essentially an agency model, but instead of digital marketing services, teaching people how to go start AI companies instead. Yeah. Absolutely fucking ripped, dude. They got to listen to this. It's the end of July. They hit me up in the first part of August, sent me a screenshot to prove that they did what they did. $5 and some change, $1 million a month. Think about that growth. $500,000 in January to $5 million by July. And guess what funnel it was? All a call funnel. The call funnels are one of the most demonized things because it is one of the funnels that requires you to deal with the violent data that you might experience daily instead of drawn out over a shorter period of time. Like, let's say you do a live webinar model and you do it weekly. You have 4 times in a month where you'll experience the pain of your actions. 4 times. If you run a call funnel, you deal with the pain of your shitty actions daily because it's daily lead flow, okay? And any funnel, no matter what it is, low ticket to high ticket, webinars, challenge funnels, DMs, call funnels, whatever, they all have problems and they all have things that need resolved, okay? And one of the things that like we talked about most recently, we call them back-end selling systems. And these guys specifically, in addition to like every other thing they did, they had so many things they did to stack that revenue and at that speed especially. But again, I digress. What I'm trying to make is, there's like a new paradigm to get call funnels to work. And we augment call funnels with our back-end selling system. So like right when they book to call the confirmation page, we have all these breakout videos. We learned a perfect example, right? Just don't fucking think about it more complicated than how you behave. You go to look at testimonials. You don't just look at the best testimonials, right? Like people sitting here, they're like, oh yeah, $5 million a month. Like that's Jeremy said it himself, that's an outlier deal. What they really wonder is like, well, how fucked could things get? Right? Like how bad could it be? Like a perfect example, we've had inner circle members join in where they stall, don't do fucking anything, pay for a couple months and then have to leave because they didn't make any progress, right? They tried the things, they may have even lost money and then they drop out. It's like, that's what people actually want to know. How fucked could it get? And is this person I'm going to buy from, are they willing to ever talk about that? So on the confirmation page, we'll have people do things like show dispute rates, show refund rates, explain like refunds or disputes, demonstrate, simply put the question of like, well, how fucked could it be if I do the deal? And then as a result of that, we have a handful of other videos we'll typically put on those pages. Urgency videos are another great example of this, trying to get people into the frame that I need to inspire highly believable reasons into this individual to feel like what we're proposing for them to do should be prioritized compared to everything else they have going on. So confirmation pages like that, value dense email sequences that are geared towards that same logic, trying to actually provide people information that they give a fuck about prior to these calls. Most people have show rate problems on their calls or close rate problems. Some deal with front end issues like cost per call being too high, CPM invariability, there's all kinds of like problems across the board you can experience. But again, what the biggest issue seems to be after you deal with all the optimization based issues is just the scaling of that funnel. People will go slow on hiring the reps. A lot of people are having to rely on sales agencies nowadays. Seems like confidence is at all-time zero on running your own sales organization and recruiting talent. People are deferring to like agencies more than any other time I've seen throughout the years. But again, my point being, okay, you take the ownership to go through the optimization phase and then go through the scales phase, learn the things that you don't know that would otherwise empower you to have true success with a call funnel right now. Call funnels, fuck. I absolutely love call funnels. There's, in my opinion, no better funnel that can scale aggressively compared to a call funnel. It's consistent, it's daily lead flow, but it's one of the most like demonized funnels that exist by people. More people will fail with call funnels than people who will succeed in most instances at high levels of scale. A lot of people can pull it off at low levels of scale. Everybody can pretty much pull it off with organic traffic. But when you start looking at paid traffic specifically to try to scale up, you are going to have a bad time. Does that make sense?
Call funnels. Okay, so that was call funnels. So it's still possible. Do you think that? What do you think is the issue? You mentioned that also the sales, like scaling the sales team and all that stuff. But is it also like that most people don't really know how to attract like people with actual money?
Yeah, there's plenty of problems.
Well, why do so many
like
people
across the board, there's issues, to be clear. So again, you start off with just paid ads, right? You got CPMs, like maybe your CPMs are absolutely cooked. You then got your link click-through rate, which indicates, as an example, people you're reaching, are they resonating with what you're talking about or clicking through at a tremendously low rate? All these things start to fuck you, okay? And then you get to this position where you actually get people to the page. You have your application to scheduler rate, your application question drop-off rate, your VSL play rates, engagement rates on the VSL. Once you get people to actually book, you get a reasonable cost per call that you can stomach. Obviously, then you have show rates. Some people do one call closes, some people do two. And if you do two, you naturally increase the amount of friction because then you have the first call show rate, second call booking rate, second call show rate, close rate, and your AOV. If you do a one call close, which not everybody believes they can pull off, you obviously just have the show rate, the close rate, the AOV. So anyway, each one of these is a problem in and of itself. In the best case scenario, you launch a funnel and like all three of these things, or excuse me, not three, all of these individual components are working, everything's fine and dialed in. In a worst case scenario, like you get stuck at step one, solve that problem, and then step two fucks you, and like you just like subsequently get fucked at every step. And everybody has a gambling budget respectfully to what their ad dollars that they've allocated are and like how much true like financial bandwidth they have to tolerate, financial loss. Cause that's essentially what you're doing. When you are losing, you're acquiring the necessary exposure of like what's fucked and what you need to fix. And whether you have the endurance or not to continue solving those problems until inevitably and ideally it turns into a profit machine for you, all comes down to how thick your wallet is and your gambling budget you've set aside without feeling like desperate or like fucking pressed, And the thing is, like, dude, some of these things aren't like simple things. Some people really struggle with filming ads or just generating creatives, So if link click-through rate and messaging is your issue, some people struggle with that. Talking to the right people, Some people have no fucking clue what the word Andromeda means. They hear that and they're like, what the fuck is this guy saying? They don't even have any up-to-date awareness on recent massive algorithm shifts that have occurred on Meta that require you to do a completely different thing with your ad creatives than ever before. We had a guy, give you a perfect example of this. He joined into the inner circle for some random video he saw on like VSLs, I think. And it was an older video. And he joined in and like, he showed me his ad account and I was like, fuck, dude. Like, do you know what Andromeda is? He was like, I have no clue what Andromeda is. And I was like, bro, you're like, his CPM's like $200 some. His link click-through rate was booty. His total cost per call had inflated like hundreds of %. He had no idea why. And simply put, at all levels, there's generally like a lack of awareness because it shifts. It's not hard. It's not like it's hard or it's tough to solve these things. Some of them are just more significant than others, whether it's the education cycle and what you need to know first before you can take the right action. Or in other times, it's like, dude, hiring people is not a marketing knob. It requires you to obviously go through like recruiting and interviewing and training and like spending all that time and risk, and not everybody feels like they have the capacity to do that. Right. And so then they go through the process of trying to find sales agencies and maybe they get fucked by any one of these things. Right. And then they have to start over with a different system or a different thing. And like these days, sometimes like multi-month problems that people have. And remember, that all means that while they're running it at a financial loss, they have to endure the financial loss, which is a couple months of literally just losing money, bro. Like, which fucking nobody wants to do.
Losing at least 10K per month.
Yeah, and if they're like, again, if you lose the frame of like, all right, well, I'm trying to buy a revenue system right now. Like I'm attempting to invest into a deal here. It's like, I always try to get people who, because again, like we usually help rich people get richer. So usually they have a good frame about like traditional investments.
Yeah.
If you looked at it like a real estate deal, right? Rarely, if ever, do you just put money into a real estate deal and like instantly get the return, right? Paid advertising is one of the only situations I've ever seen where you can put money in and get money back out as fast as what it typically does. Okay. Even if you have like, imagine this, how crazy would it be? Would you even tolerate this is the better question. If you had to risk dollars today and it took 90 days for you to make the money back, just to be break even, you're profitable in 120 days, 4 months from now.
I would probably not do that.
In the context of paid advertising, like that's fucking insane. But like, okay, in the context of a real estate deal, you'll invest a fuckload of money. And what do you get as an outcome? Well, you get as an outcome, typically, it could take decades to get to the point where you're actually profitable, right?
Yeah.
But technically, the true justification in most instances is like, as long as it kicks off enough cash flow and I can afford whatever my costs are, I'll tolerate it, right? Even though I'm excessively in debt, like not really profitable yet, I'm at least profitable on the debt repayment, so I'll accumulate a lot more debt and like therefore go into that. Moral of the story is, in most real estate deals though, you invest, it still takes like a couple months in most instances to get that process flowing. Paid ads, the expectation is I can turn dollars into more dollars within 30 days. So that expectation will fail you if you're not willing to look at it like, I have to invest into this to the point where I'm both educated on what to do and actually like getting the problems fixed that expose themselves as we go through this process. And that could take a couple months. So most people, they project onto it. This was supposed to have worked in 30 days. It didn't, I'm done. Or they run out of money to continue testing it comfortably, or they truly just run out of resources on like how to, even if they know how to solve the problem, like maybe they don't know how to hire salespeople. Maybe they don't even know sales agencies exist and they just kind of feel stuck. And then those things drag on for months and they obviously can't tolerate it. So simply put, the speed in which you solve problems in any funnel, let alone call funnels especially, because call funnels, like I said, you get daily exposure to financial loss.
Yeah.
Okay, webinars, you can at least like slow down and kind of rein in the financial loss to more like little lump sum event-oriented losses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, that's the moral of the story. I think call funnels fuck super hard. I think they're great. Like I said, the most literal, audacious example I have of them is the 500K to 5 mil story. But plenty of people, it's a grind. It's more like you get from, let's say, 200K a month to 300K a month over the course of like a couple months, right? Yeah. And then like you're slowly hiring more reps and you're hiring them at a lower pace, and you're doing those kind of things. The pace in which you move really, just like I said, comes down to the pace in which you solve these problems. Those guys that I said that get a fucking pure silver 5 mil a month trophy, dude, it's like they have 50 plus salespeople right now while we sit here and talk. I think they at one point had all the way up to 70, just to put it in perspective. Back when they were doing 500K, you think they had that many reps?
No.
Right? How many people do you know personally that you've seen run call funnels that knowingly have the problem of, I just need more reps? And you talk to them months later and they still have the same problem and they didn't hire any more reps.
Yeah.
Right? One of those people in that example had an aggressive pace in which they chose to solve the problem of hiring more reps. And in another instance, one tolerated the problem for an excessively long period of time. How many people you know that have a fucked up cost per call, don't even know the word Andromeda, don't have any level of aspiration to clearly solve that problem and just tolerate it, and are those kind of people that just shut that shit off, right? Those people, no matter what funnel they pick, they have the wrong characteristics. That's not the type of person that's going to make any progress regardless of whatever the fuck they do. The people who are the ones making the progress on any one of these funnels are like those hyper focused on it, like they're fixated. There's an issue, I will resolve it as fast as I fucking can. I will throw myself at it completely. I will throw my organization at it completely, and I will solve this issue that's holding us back. And then they overcome it. And by the way, what's on the other side of it is another one of those, right? And that type of business person who's conditioned on that thesis that there's inevitable problems for them anywhere on the timeline, and they can either condense those problems to a shorter duration of time and run through a bunch of shit that otherwise holds regular people back for long durations of time. They'll overcome it in a short window. And on top of that, bro, they'll deal with more than just that one thing at a time. They'll solve many of those big things at a time because they're not big. Most people, they create a massive thing out of a simple action, and it prevents the action from occurring. The people who bias towards just an aggressive level of action, it's the winners that we're talking about here that always solve these things. It's the winners. You know what? As a matter of fact, this is actually pretty funny. You know Ryan Klog?
Yeah.
So he's getting the other $5 million a month award with Warrior Babe. Okay, and by the way, that was a very unfortunate story. I got to tell it real quick, just on a side note. We had an Inner Circle member join. I don't even remember this name off the top of my head because this guy lost the battle. And he came in all hot. He was like, I'm in a race with Ryan right now to hit 5 mil a month first. And they were both right around 3, and they had made some kind of bet. And the guy joined the Inner Circle to get there faster. And then like literally later that month, Ryan posted he's at 5 mil a month. He sneak fucked him. And now we got to give him an award in front of the group, you know? What a shame. But anyway, Ryan, same thing, call funnels. Like now they're trying other stuff, but like call funnels got him up to this like significant level, you know? So that's my point. Call funnels are fucking sick. But Ryan, in his words, he uses the word sicko. He's like, dude, that guy's a fucking sicko. And my version of that, like I call them killers, you know? This type of person that I'm describing, again, like hyper-fixated people that take some, I'll give you a perfect example, okay? Have you ever been into something and you just bought a fuckload of it at once, whatever it's been, and then you kind of like lose interest, and then like the next thing comes up and you do the same thing? It's like, bro, this place we're sitting in right now, look around you. This didn't have fucking walls, dude. It didn't have AC. I got this in late July, dude. We're sitting here at the beginning of October. This is essentially fully complete. I hyper-fixated on this. The people who were like physically in this area around me as other business owners were seriously like, what the fuck are you on over there? Like, what's going on? And I'm over here like, I'm just throwing money at people and organizing them well to do jobs at once. It's like, you don't have to do one thing at a time. I view that as fucking, I'm not going to say the R word. I view that as being dumb. I choose to aggressively solve things in a quick period of time. I got really into guns back in COVID because there was nothing else to do. I'd just go to I wasn't like stockpiling like a fucking psycho, you know? I was just going and shooting at the range. It was one of the fun things to do during COVID. Bro, I bought like tens of thousands of rounds of ammo that when I move to a new place, I just like bring with me, you know? I just like carry it around like luggage. I bought so many guns during that period of time, like cases. I haven't bought a gun for so long, dude. You know, it's like watches. It's like I bought, I don't even know how many watches when I get focused on watches, or like my cars earlier this year. There was a car in January, a car in February, and a car in March. I just like swapped out the fleet, and then I was like, oh, I feel complete. Like I'm not gonna focus on that anymore, you know? And then like, again, that changes. A perfect example of this, I'm finally gonna focus on physical. So now that this big cycle's done, I have my trainer following me around 12 hours a day starting later this month. Bro, watch this over the next couple months. I'll tell you right now, it's gonna be fucking crazy. And I'll hyper-fixate on it. I'll do things like injectables, which I've never been comfortable doing. I'll do anything and everything that it takes to have like a serious physical transformation. Why? Because it's like finally entered I'm hyper-fixated on it mode. The only things that in that type of person's life truly have extreme progress are the things they hyper-fixate on. And if that type of person can learn to strategically take that and apply it to a problem that's holding back their revenue, they'd have far more revenue on the other side of that because they would naturally educate the fuck out of themselves, have a fuckload of conversations about it, throw the necessary time, effort, and resources at that specific problem, and overcome the problem extremely quick. But instead, they haven't learned to harness that hyper-fixation yet, and they feel like that's kind of random to them still. Like it goes wherever it goes, you know, and they pay attention to whatever they pay attention to. Once that type of person specifically like dials it in, they're fucking unstoppable, dude. They're unstoppable. And again, more so they just accomplish so much in a short window. And then you got the regular people, which technically still progress, right? They technically still progress, but over far broader durations of time. And usually that results in those people getting richer, but slower. Right? And most people that I know and talk to, they want to have the speed to getting rich without having to make sacrifices that like classic get rich quick thinking would give you. They just have that possibility because they have that hyper-fixated characteristic. Does that make sense? You understand what I'm putting down over here? So moral of the story, I don't even remember what the question was, but that's the answer.
That's what you need to scale call funnels, be hyper-fixated. I mean,
yeah, call funnel, any funnel to be clear, but call funnels especially, yeah. And that's what those two people did. That's why they had that level of progress. They're fucking the sickos, the freaks, the killers.
Got it. So there's 2 awards that are going to be given away in 2 days from now for $5 million.
Yeah.
And those are both call funnels.
Correct, yeah.
What's the record that you have seen per month with a webinar funnel?
Great question. I don't think I've seen a webinar funnel go more than about 2 to 3 million a month. That seems to be the pocket for it. Of people, to be very clear, that like I've seen the actual numbers from. I've heard hearsay and stories of people who have taken funnels up, specifically webinars, to greater numbers than that. But again, it'd be more hearsay, so I don't necessarily know if it's true or not, because there's a lot of like, you know how it is with hearsay, you know, it's essentially this entrepreneur gossip of like, oh, this guy or girl's making that much, you know? Like even you know, throughout this like first part talking about the inner circle, you're probably thinking like, oh, Jeremy's making fucking buku bucks over here with the inner circle, you know? And anybody to be fair, like rightfully can look at that and think, if you take, perfect example, you know what we've historically charged for the inner circle because you've been in the group for a really long time.
Yeah.
Imagine being a new guy in the group and just looking at the number at the top for how many people are in it and multiplying that number times what we currently charge.
Yes.
You'd probably be like, Jeremy's making fucking buku bucks. This guy's getting paid, dude.
Yeah.
It's like, you know that's not the actual number.
Yes.
Right? Because again, you've been in there long enough to know that we've had cheaper pricing in the past. So that's an example of what I'm talking about. If somebody then took, you remember when Ramosi recently did 100, he claims, this is from Ramosi if I'm not mistaken. Again, this was a screenshot I saw, so maybe it was manipulated, but I thought I saw Ramosi say he made $105 million from that launch. That's fucking sweet, okay? It's fucking sweet. Now to be clear, right before Ramosi came and cleared it up, what were the numbers being shared around? How much did people say Ramosi made during that before he said what he made? I saw people saying he made like $150 million within minutes of the fucking stream ending.
Yeah.
You know? And what were they doing? They took like the number of books at the bottom times whatever the book costs or whatever the math was. And they did that thing I was telling you where they look at the group number and multiply times what they, so you see what I'm saying? That is still, it's crazy by the way, crazy that amount of money. And that was technically a challenge funnel arguably because it was like a multi-day stream, but like, you know, you could argue it was a long webinar too. So that could be the most we've ever seen for sure. Regardless though, point I'm trying to make, I don't always believe hearsay. The ones I've personally seen have been like 2 to 3 mil a month around that range for a webinar funnel. That's not to say that that's like the peak and it can't go beyond that. That's just what we've seen ourselves, like with my own eyes, you know?
Yeah. And those are like doing a live webinar once a week, once a month, 3 times a week.
Well, it's different, give or take the time frame, you know, because I've had a broad duration of time in my career to look at all different kinds of phases that we've gone through. You know, in this world. And moral of the story is what I've seen in the past was like, you could do that through an evergreen funnel. Like we had that with the client that we always tell stories about in the inner circle that had a free book, led to a webinar. You know, that in itself got to 2.5 mil a month. That was technically a webinar. That was evergreen. Now it's like while we literally sit here and talk right now, yes, live webinars are absolutely what you'd want to do comparatively to an evergreen webinar. The reality is like actually challenge funnels are what you want to do more so than anything else if you're trying to go for like true lump sums, but they're insane in terms of the time and effort that they require you to commit to. So anyway, webinars are awesome. Webinars are like mini lump sums. Weekly's best for cold audiences. When you have a warm audience, you ideally do a monthly webinar for the warm audience. That way you don't fatigue the webinar and you can maintain its performance. The main issue is like when people try to scale webinars for warm audiences, they try to increase frequency. And as a result of that, it usually diminishes the overall revenue they generate from the webinar itself as a result of that increase in frequency. Cold audiences are ultimately where you have that ability to do weekly webinars with no negative consequence because you're doing true cold traffic. That's also the best webinar that you'll likely have, by the way, is to a fucking cold. You dial that in, like you're in a good spot. You know, it's like playing a game on extra hard and then you like win the game and you're like, hey, this ain't that bad. And then you go like play on one of the lower levels, you just fucking run the game, you know? That's the equivalent of like mastering cold and in comparison to like warm or organic, you know? And most people, they do the opposite. Like they'll have organic first and then they'll start to retarget the warm and then they'll go to cold. And that also prevents people from ever doing cold. I love the people who just fucking raw dog cold straight away. Those people are a great example of the people who just immediately take it to the point where it needs to go. That's ultimately where the most scale is. So yeah, anyway, but again, it really depends. It really depends on the amount of money you can burn while you learn those lessons to make it crack. But there are certain niches, respectfully to like offers and like demand at a given time, where going to cold makes the most sense because the demand from a given niche at a specific time can be so dramatic that as a result of that demand, it makes sense to go well beyond whatever your current audience limitations are. And you don't have to do as many like, you know, crazy cold tactics to try to get it to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've seen the same, that live versus automated for some reason really outperforms. Even if you're not doing anything crazy showing that it's live, it still outperforms. Why do you think that is?
Yeah.
Like,
I think
what's
that,
going on there?
there's this term in trust. It's called a trust recession. I'm not sure who originated this word. I've heard it from a handful of different people now over a good few years. And at first I remember hearing it and I was like, nah, I don't really agree with that. But as time has passed, I can see very clearly that it feels like, give or take the niche that you sell to and how many times they've been pitched and how long they've been pitched, there's just so much like trust fatigue, you know, where they've given trust out and they've gotten fucked and burned. And it's a great book. We talk about it all the time. Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz, right? Like the marketer's Bible. And just to be clear, this specific book talks about there's only 4 levels to market sophistication. And the 4th stage being the most severe. People they're fully aware of all the solutions. They've been pitched so many fucking times. They've likely done deals with people as well and gotten fucked. If you looked at a lot of niches now, internet marketing has sped up the amount of interaction that any given market can have and has like rapidly ascended customers up this sophistication ladder. I would argue that if Eugene Schwartz were alive in like today's day and age and rewrote that book, I bet he would have more than 4 stages of market sophistication. I bet this dude would have like fucking 6 to 8 at least, because some of these niches, they're so beyond burnt, right? That those tactics, like think about this, dude. I had to give advice over this last 2 years to tell people to show things like your dispute rate and your refund rate. Like, bro, how abnormal is that? Like, you can hear that, and in today's day and age, you don't even think to yourself like, that's fucking insane. Like, I was in a room at Cody Sanchez's event recently. She had me do a talk at her HQ out in Austin, Texas. Okay, and she has just all kinds of business owners. A perfect example of like a really wild one that was there. They had a shirt that said like poop 911 on it. And I thought they sold like poop supplements or something, but they pick up dog shit in people's yard as a service. And I'm sitting here giving that advice of like, yeah, you girls, you can make videos where you have the people that you hire show the background checks on the people that you hire. Because if I'm going to let random people into my backyard, like, let me see that they're not fucking criminals, or like, you know, let me know who's coming in my yard, right? It's like, and they can hear that and they're like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But dude, that's like honestly fucking insane that like a homeowner, like we're in such a low trust society that you have to see a background check on the fucking people that you're doing. I personally, I don't like to operate in that view. Like I'm very like proactive with, when I do a deal with people, I like to think the utmost of them, right? I project onto them like high trust because I want to participate in a high trust society. So I project that onto others. And does that occasionally fuck me? Like, yes. But again, it's like, I'd still rather stay in that state as an optimist. But a lot of people, man, they don't have that They don't have that willingness to like do that. And so as a result, they've just been beyond fucking burnt. Okay. If this was like 10 years ago and you're giving the advice like, dude, show your dispute rate, show your refund rate, people would be like, what are you, a fucking idiot? What are you talking about? Why would I do that? Why would I have to do that? Who cares to see that? When people do that, they see higher show rates. Like it could take one comment on Reddit to like nuke your show rate like 30%. What does that show about how people currently view working with businesses in certain niches, right? If it just takes that one little fucking comment, that's not even that bad, you know? That's not even that bad. Do they even read the whole thing is what you got to ask, or do they just read that little like description in the SEO title? You know what I mean? It's like, that's how fucked some of these niches are. And if you don't know that, right, it's like you're going to have a bad time. Whether, again, it's a webinar funnel, call funnel, like any type of funnel can experience this chaos right now. Okay, and that's kind of my point. When you look at all this and you culminate like, man, that's where it's at. What do I got to do relative to that? You can run any type of funnel, but if it doesn't factor in that current consensus, right? And again, back to your question, right? Why does a live webinar work better than an evergreen webinar? I think it's because of that. I think that people are like, look, I'll show up to your fucking training, dude, right? But first of all, it better actually be good. You better not have a bunch of like fluff bullshit in it. You better get to the point, like respect my time. And respecting their time, I think a big part of that is being live. I think that we also have seen as an example in major scaled offers, 1/3 of total buyers are rewatching a second webinar or a third webinar before they buy the high ticket thing. So if you're seeing 1/3 of people re-opt into the next subsequent webinars, I can't stress enough, like that reveals everything I'm saying in practice, right? I see it all the time in so many different contexts. But anyway, long story short, we do them live because that makes more money, right? So regardless of all the reasoning and all the whys, at the end of the day, if it works better than whatever else you could do, we're going to do what works better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And then I guess like a challenge funnel or like some kind of low ticket offer is even a step further where you're even giving them more to try out to see if you're legit, if all of that works.
Yeah, low ticket to high ticket's great. We're a big fan of low ticket to high ticket in many contexts, right? The action of seeing low ticket to high ticket be like the primary driver of like significant revenue, it happens. It is generally rare. It's more of a, what we call secondary funnel. People will scale with call funnels, webinar funnels, sometimes even live events, to be fair, now that COVID's over with. But dude, we love low ticket to high ticket. Most people just don't have willingness to do it.
That's retargeting or like on a lower scale on cold, but
no, we'll do low ticket to high ticket to straight cold audiences. It works great with cold audiences. It can also act, depending on what your low ticket is, as a drop sell. A perfect example of this is I'll use my own offer stack. So our master internet marketing offer costs $5K. Okay, that is our version of low ticket. We don't have anything lower than that. That is an incredible program. It's an incredible education product. But at the end of the day, it's technically my low ticket, right? I help rich people get richer. We sometimes have people that come to us, business owners that have a large staff. They want to train many people at once. The inner circle doesn't make sense for that. Putting them in the inner circle does, but again, we're not going to put their staff in the inner circle. We put them in master internet marketing. There's people who want to learn from us that by no means qualify for the inner circle or would ever be an agency client of ours. We have willingness to help people, to be clear. Like, we're not dickheads. We do all kinds of charitable things and philanthropic things. We just don't flex about it online. Moral of the story is like, that's kind of my version of an offer where, look, if you're not right for one of our higher level offers where we can like really help get the rich richer, that offer's phenomenal. It's just all the skills that I've learned and very transparently taught, and we update it annually. It's so fair. We give people that offer and we let them stick in the offer for the lifetime of it. So every year we go back and we update the entirety of the offer. We teach the whole 7-week live class all over again. We just concluded that over this last 7 weeks. The 7th week finished on September 30th. So now the class is fresh again. And if something big changes, we'll literally update it, right? We go back and we update it every year anyway. So my point is, the next offer up currently, $72K a year. And by the way, whenever you're watching this video, if it costs more, you watched the video too late, I'm sorry. But the next thing is $72,000, right? The probability of somebody ascending from $5K to $72,000, believe it or not, it's like the people who really want to be a part of that inner circle offer, that's one of their highest desires, is to be able to make enough to qualify to be a part of that, okay? Now, just to be rather direct, that's not the goal of that product. The context of that product is not to attempt to upsell people, just as the context of the inner circle is not to upsell people to an agency offer. So my offers are all low, you consider like low ticket. It can be in the context of just, it's more of a drop sell to the people that otherwise don't qualify for our main limited things, because our main things are limited, right? That can be where a low ticket offer comes in. And again, that's still a great way to capture additional revenue and help people. But to be rather direct, the way I talk about low ticket to high ticket is more in the sense of like, it could still be that same way, but you do have an intention to flow people from the bottom up. And that could be at that price. I look at it like Lamborghini is a great example of this at a high ticket level. They have the Huracan. I think the Huracan is their current base model car. That's like their entry level vehicle that they've got, right? You got Ferrari that's got cars like the Roma, or they historically have had like the California, and they just introduced a new one. I don't know the name of the new one, to be clear. And in reality, like the people who buy that specific car, right, as the entry level version, the people who own like the Aventador or the SF90s or like the fucking Parasangues, you know, they look at the people who are buying more of the base level stuff, and it elevates the status of the people who buy the more expensive stuff. The people who own Huracans, like they would love to buy a Scion, you know, they'd love to buy a fucking Aventador SVJ, you know what I mean? Like they'd love to get the higher level cars, but they bought what they could afford. So low ticket's great to like capture additional revenue. And it can be like an aspiration ascension ladder that you've got. You can also do the traditional, like you sell something at 20 bucks, 50 bucks, 100 bucks. You then have a sales team that reaches out. You could do a book funnel as an example of low ticket to high ticket. We've done things in all different, like as an example, take SOPs like we talked about at the beginning of this, have that lead to the 5K offer as an example, things like that. There's so many different ways you could do low ticket to high ticket relative to whatever your pricing is. You could sell pools to people and do something as simple as have an initial offer that's low ticket, like coming and doing a filter service or like a pool cleaning service, you know, or a simple like, we'll change the color of the pool service, and then inevitably get the opportunity to talk to them about potential upgrades and like fountains and colors and shit. You know what I mean? It's like anything can act as that entry level thing. And it can either be the introductory, like skeptical offer, you know, or it could be the, I'm selling to people who aspirationally want to buy more from me, but they currently can buy what they buy from us offer. And it can otherwise be considered like more the drop sell, right? Like, hey, this doesn't make sense for you. We think this makes more sense for you instead. That way both parties can still benefit from doing a deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. So you're not planning on
different
ever like selling internet marketing masters at a large scale?
No, I mean, to be fair, there is a high probability, just to continue practicing what we preach, that we teach, that we treat that offer like something that will be like as an example, Facebook has a brand most people don't know about. It's called Jasper's Market. And Jasper's Market is their version of an example page that they ran for years. So we have two products that we can consider. We just introduced a funny thing. I'll give you a bottle, by the way. It's called Big Germs Hot Sauce.
Oh, I
the
saw
Fire
that.
and Fortune flavor. And it's fucking awesome, dude. It absolutely rips as a hot sauce. But to be clear, it's like we'll treat that as like a low ticket e-com product. And like we'll literally go sell it. And like we'll spend money to advertise. Like we'll consistently just learn lessons on our own dime to provide value to people that are in that specific market. And our goal is not to sell individual bottles. Our goal is to sell cases of it and try to put people on subscriptions for it. That way we can demonstrate what we regularly teach to the e-com niche in practice, right? The master internet marketing product, especially since we have a lot of info people that learn from us, we'll absolutely put our skills on display with our own offers, as we regularly do anyway. Beyond just our clients and all the money that we get to spend on behalf of them. Because I like gaining the respect of people, you know, like I'll give you a great example. One reason I'm going to do the physical transformation, like my blood work is fucking sick, dude. My blood work's dialed the fuck in. My sleep stats, like I have a resting heart rate of in the 40s. It's like mid 40s. Like I barely work out. I walked every day. I would do like 10,000 to 20,000 steps a day. Okay. Do a lot of like mental shit in a day, but I don't even know if that counts, respectfully to all the fitness dudes probably watching this. But I deeply believe that there is a type of buyer out there that sees my current knowledge and is like, oh, I resonate with what this guy's saying, but they don't necessarily respect me because I don't respect myself physically to the point of taking myself to the top 1% of that category. I commonly joke and say like I'm top 1% of everything but physical, even though technically I'm 6'5", so like arguably I'm still top 1% physical too. But look, I completely respect a physical transformation and being in like peak physical shape. I just, from like a health perspective, am dialed in, not sick, don't really have a pressing reason, but that's my exact issue. That's how I viewed like why I'd need to take myself to a much greater physically fit level. What I've since like reframed it as is, no, this is just another thing to dominate and demonstrate physical expertise in this case. It makes me a more well-rounded, high discipline, high trust person. Historically, all of us from an evolutionary perspective respect like a warrior build. You know what I mean? There's just a natural respect that comes from that. And nowadays, because it is essentially an earned status, you can't buy it, right? It's an earned status to take yourself to the physical top 1%. I will absolutely commit to that. But I want to be really clear. It's like also like a financial motive. I want to earn the respect of that specific buyer type who will look and say, this guy's the full 360, right? Right now I'm like a 270. You know, I got a phenomenal view if you bought this house in the hills, but there's that little part of the view that you don't get the opportunity to see, right? I want the 360, okay? And anyway, my point is, I can't stress enough how important I think it is in today's day and age to be as transparent as you can, as real as you can, be as helpful as you can, and really take it as serious as you've ever taken it, solely because we're in an age of what I call the age of transparency. Trust has gotten so low that without radical transparency, you miss a tremendous amount of buyers. And if you apply that logic to things like me taking my master internet marketing program and just running it up for the sole purpose of getting that additional person out there to say, oh, well, Jeremy's just spending money on behalf of clients. Like, yeah, he's making all his clients a fuckload richer, but like, why isn't he doing it himself? It's like, I will do it myself, and I'll show you, and you'll see that I can literally do it for myself too. So moral of the story is, I will do that exact thing. I'll use it as my own case study. I'll fucking take a random hot sauce company and I'll run it up in e-com for the sole purpose of exactly what I'm talking about too. Like, I believe in all of what I teach other people. And although, to be clear, yes, I already practice what I preach in many regards. I'll literally like just, again, take myself there physically, take myself there with these two different examples of the hot sauce and the master internet marketing offer, but more from that perspective, simply put, not for the perspective of anything else. Does that make sense?
So the hot sauce is not only a passion project, but also you want to like literally do some serious numbers.
Yeah, I want to tell some little fucking e-com nerd like, look, dude, I know what I'm talking about there too. Here's an example of it. Because to be fair, like, we don't really take on a lot of like any kind of low ticket thing, especially not a fucking hot sauce company or some e-com company. But it's just simply put, it's to demonstrate like what we know works across the board.
Yeah.
Although I'm not attempting to like open up a demographic here of low ticket buyers from us that have like low ticket companies. We'd prefer to stay with the buyer type of somebody who has a high ticket product or service.
Yeah.
Well, again, it's not about that. It's just to prove the thesis. Like, I have a belief where I believe that you can make far more money selling high ticket compared to low ticket. And I don't want to be right. I just want to make money. And I always say this, dude, I test against what I believe. So in this example specifically, I am testing against what I believe and attempting to see if I'm right or wrong. And I will try my hardest to drive that shit through the roof. And if I can't, then I believe that it'll prove more of my thesis and it'll help me continue to bias towards high ticket, because that's clearly where I bias towards. Does that make sense? I'm telling you, I do this shit. I live this stuff. These random like little quotes, these quips I say, like, they're not just me saying shit. Like, I like deeply believe in proving myself right or wrong. Because otherwise, how the fuck else do I know if I'm right? I don't want to just be right, you know? I think that's egotistical. I like actually want to be right, not just like in words.
Yeah.
Because whoever's right is rich. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right,
right,
with results.
Hey, I got to go to dinner. I got to go eat that crispy poached egg at La Atelier. So,
Thank you very
hope
much.
y'all eat a crispy poached egg too, man. Thanks for having me on.